We have Joshua Perez, Mooch, fan of the podcast, IDW's beautiful artist and colorist himself.
Joshy.
He asks a few questions. First he asks, you get to make a repaint or slight remold of a TF toy into any character you'd like to see. Catch is you could only use an Armada toy.
Oh, that's so hard.
And you know what? And then he wrote, what character and which Armada toy would it be?
Yeah.
So what he's more or less saying is you have a choice of any of the Armada molds or Transformers Micron molds from Japan. And you could turn them into repaint them or slightly remold them, I guess Bakon style, new head sculpt or whatever, new gun sculpt, into any character you'd like. What would you do? So, Wendell?
So I had two ideas, but they were already done. Like, they're already officially done.
Well, keep in mind, we should probably remind, Armada's mold list is a lot smaller than the other two Unicron trilogy toy lines. Armada, I was actually, when Josh asked this question, I just had to turn to my right because I have my Unicron trilogy display, and if you don't count Minicons, there literally is 20 molds in all of Armada. But then you look at Energon, which is known as Superlink, and Galaxy Force, which is known as Cybertron. There's a ton more molds.
Yeah.
Tons of more molds. So it's there's a lot more to work with. So Josh really gave us quite the challenge here.
I'll just go through the two that were already known, basically. I was remembering old characters and toys I had when I was a kid, so I was like, oh yeah, whatever happened to that Micromaster Overlord? Oh, that should be one. And then I kind of look it up, I'm like, oh wait, there's an Armada Overlord. It's basically the same cab.
Yeah.
But the colors are red. So I was like, oh, I'll just change the colors to match the G1.
Yeah, make it the blue and the grays. Yeah. But that's true. Yeah, and the funny thing is that the way it is, it could kind of it works.
Mm-hmm.
It works if they did it in those colors. And they did an Ultra Magnus one which had blue and whites, but it wasn't the same coloration of it. So I could see that though. That works.
Another one I had was Armada Wheeljack being a red sideswipe, but that's already known. That's already the factored into the design, I think, if I remember right. There's something about it that was
it's totally sideswipe.
Yeah,
it totally is. The funny thing is that character in Japan was called Rampage, which makes even less sense.
Oh,
it's just I know exactly. Again, Micron was a very it was a very interesting series. It was, again, if I always tell people watch the Japanese version, do not watch the American one. It was a mess. But the molds were, they were what they were.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
I also have here Armada Blur being Micromaster Tailspin.
You know what's funny with that one?
Mm-hmm.
They actually did. I think it was the Universe 1.0 line did Blur into Swerve, and I believe they turned his Micromaster into a homage to his Micron into
Trailspin. Excuse me, Trailspin, not Tailspin. Trailspin. I misread that.
Let me look that up for a second. It was Universe Blur. Not Universe Blur. It was Universe Swerve. I forget what the Micromaster. Remember, was a nod to somebody. Let me just double check that. It was Road Handler. Okay, which was the other Micromaster buddy.
Oh nope, Tailspin. Nope. I'm looking at the box right now. I wrote that down wrong. There we go. Because that's another Micromaster I had when I was a kid, and so I was just looking up Blur. I was like, every time I looked at the Armada Blur you had at your place, Daniel, I would always be like, this looks super familiar. Just the way the alt mode looked and everything like that. So I kind of felt like it looked more like Tailspin. Just put, instead of a gray body, put a blue on the car mode, and then make the actual inside body gray. Just invert the colors basically. And put paint the face red, obviously.
Yeah, no, and it works totally. I could see that. I mean, we had the Universe Sideswipe that was a red repaint, but not the same way how you describe it. So it works. I could see that. Me too. It was kind of difficult.
Well, I got two more here.
Oh, you do? Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
I
more.
actually
Okay.
went all in on this one.
Okay, cool.
Because I know Armada wasn't a line I really got into. I got into at the beginning, and I was like, I'm not feeling this, and I kind of pulled out. I got out.
A lot of people of the Unicron trilogy, they feel Armada was the weakest in terms of toy design, but Armada was more of a gimmick-based play toy design, less of a focus on articulation. And,
right.
I mean, you can't say that they weren't show accurate.
No, exactly.
Which says a lot about the show, maybe also. But
so another one I have is Armada Sideways going into G2 Laser Cycle Soundwave.
Ah, yeah, that I could see.
And Road Pig / Road Pig. So just repaint the colors dark blue or black, respectively.
That's another mold that hasn't seen a lot of action. I'm surprised. I think they only did the repaint of. They did a repaint of. It was the yellow one in Energon.
And then the last one I have here as a quote unquote bonus is one I've been always saying for since the first time I ever picked up this toy. Armada Red Alert, switch them into RoboCop basically.
Oh God, yeah. Well, you know what? And they kind of almost did do that. There was a 2-pack that came with Starscream. I think it was. I want to say it was a Target exclusive, and they had the head was gray,
right? But
the visor wasn't red. So it's like almost, yeah, I know it's totally RoboCop.
Because I would say repaint him silver and black, and then remember his disconnecting hands that he had. So it was a med pack or something like that. Change that into quote unquote male connectors. If you have every time he jacked into the computer to get all of his information.
Oh yeah, when he had his little his data prong that he used to kill.
Yeah, exactly. I would say use that.
And not to mention if you for the much beloved, and I say this sarcastically, RoboCop 3 when he had the interchangeable hands.
Yeah, exactly.
So he had his flamethrower, he had his machine gun hand. So you could kind of work that. Yeah, that's actually true. That one totally. I would buy.
I remember every time I saw that toy, I had that toy in my hand when I bought it, and I was like, "Oh, I want this guy because he looks like RoboCop."
He's awesome. Red Alert was cool. Red Alert was one of those examples where they took a character name, but they went in a different direction, which was cool. Is that it?
Yep, that's it.
For me, I had a few. Again, I looked so hard at the toys going what hasn't been done that was obvious, because a lot of times they looked at the Starscreams and they're like, yeah, we got to do the trio. One of them was looking at the cone heads. We had Thrust, and Thrust was green and gray, and then they did the obvious repaints of Dirge, and they did a Japanese Israel exclusive. I know that sounds crazy. Japanese Israel exclusive repaint to make it look like G1 Thrust in red and maroon. They never did a white one, so I was like, maybe they could do a white repaint. So that's one. They never did a proper white to finish the trio. Right. Another one that I thought that would have been cool to do, but they just never, because I'm stretching. I'm stretching because it's just part of me was I don't want to count mini-cons because mini-cons have been colored every color of the rainbow. Because that's the thing with Armada was the mini-cons, because they were the smaller, cheaper thing, they got repainted 1 billion times.
Yeah, well, it makes sense.
But every time I looked at Tidal Wave, I was like, why hasn't there been a new head sculpt put on this and made it into Broadside? For the triple changer. And because Tidal Wave is a combiner kind of thing, you could kind of if you were really smart because the way Tidal Wave was designed was he's a aircraft carrier, but he was an aircraft carrier that could fly. Right. Kind of I guess with Avengers, whatever it's called.
The helicarrier?
Yeah, the helicarriers. Because he had wings and stuff, so. And the way that he worked, because he was a combiner, he had all these little twists and turns that fan modes can exist, and he had these wings because he did fly in the air. So Broadside had a jet mode, on top of being an aircraft carrier. So with some, clever use of, first of all, head remold, just, get rid of that more sinister face and make the more, the mouth plate, broadside looking character, depending on which version of broadside, because there's 2 head sculpts of broadside in the animation. And just make something of it, because he's always been, broadside has always been like, hey man, he's an aircraft carrier, why isn't this guy like ridiculously huge?
Yeah, exactly.
He should be one of the biggest G1 characters in terms of scale if people like Starscream are landing on him, So in that same respect, if you had like the Tidal Wave toy and repainted that into broadside and gave him a little molds here and there, I think a lot of people, even if today, if they took that original Armada Tidal Wave toy and repainted it into broadside, gave it a little head remolds here and there and everything, I think a lot of people would dig it, because it would, to me, it's something that would fit in with their classics display very well.
I think I'm seeing someone that did like a custom of it, basically.
Oh, really? Someone thought up the... Well, see, and that's the thing. Like, it's one of those like ideas that I'm pretty sure someone else saw it too.
Here, let me send you the picture here.
Let me take a look. Let's see if it's more or less what I imagined. Let's see.
I'll go to the page and send that to you too.
Yes, well,
it's on TFW.
The only thing that sucks is they used a Jetfire head there.
Yeah, well, you got to use what you got to use. You got to use what's available to you.
Maybe we'll post.
And that's the Generations Jetfire too on top of it.
Yeah, but see, he was smart because he saw that the combiner pieces, how they split up and stuff, you could really do something creative to kind of make a jet mode and pull something off. But yeah, like, and to me, like, if done properly, if like you gave him that brand new head sculpt, do the colors, he gave him an axe, like this custom, they gave him an axe.
I also sent you the link for all
the whole
other
page
images.
itself. Yeah. So he gave him an axe, which broadside had an axe. So, like, I mean, Tidal Wave really didn't have a standalone weapon. He just kind of had an extra minicon, which you could then repaint into whatever you want, just to, because obviously everything is molded together. So, repaint that little ramjet minicon into, I don't know, like, give him a power glide or whatever, just to give a scale feeling. But that's always been one that I've always felt like was a missed opportunity that, even if done today, I could see fans picking it up to fit their classics display, because that's a big toy already. So he would fit in well as this big hulking triple changer to go next to your already Voyager size.
Another one.
Oh, really?
Hold on a second.
People be biting my idea. No, I'm just joking. They probably made it long before I said it.
This one looks a little bit nicer too. A better paint job.
Let's see. Let's take a look. See, in this one, this is exactly how I would imagine it. This is what I'm talking about. See, and it has the new head sculpt, which matches more of the G1 head. The colors, which match G1 perfectly. The only thing he didn't do was he didn't obviously bring in the minicon that comes with him, Ramjet, and repaint him as something. But this is, and I can see if this, what you're sending me right now, we should save these. We're going to post them in the topic thread. These, if this came out today, and if it was like a $59.99 price point, leader class, whatever, people would have no problem picking this up. There would be no arguments. Because to me, it fits in perfectly with the Voyager scale Springer and Sandstorm that already exists from Generations.
Right.
Like, and he's a little taller than them, obviously, using the Tidal Wave mold. But he fits in because I always felt that Tidal Wave was just the taller mofo compared to the other two. And I believe it was Fans Project did a third-party broadside, and he was also like a big motherfucker compared to Springer they did their own remold repaint into Sandstorm. But yeah, totally awesome. But yeah, that's I mean, I had other little ideas, but they were all related to the minicons, but they were like no-brainer ones. Like
okay.
Like they did because there was a minicon Prowl that was really based off of a Brave design, and I was like, oh man, that's totally X-Kaiser, and they kind of did an X-Kaiser homage, kind of. with Micron, but it wasn't 100% like X-Kaiser, so me, I'd be like, oh, go the full 9 yards, do X-Kaiser. There's a lot of little minicon ones that are cool, but whatever, you know what I mean? Like I wanted to focus on the big molds because minicons, they've been like, I mean, last BotCon I bought a whole bunch of minicons, and it was just millions of repaints, millions of repaints. Like literally every minicon mold has been like some primary color at some point. Like it's literally a Power Ranger Sentai team. You know.